So I had insomnia the other night, and I made the mistake of picking up this book, which was so entrancing that it kept me awake. And this is actually less about this book and more about Dover, who published this book. Because this is another pitch for me to be the online spokesperson for Dover Publications because I love you so much. This is what they do best. This was a classic book from 1913 that was very hard to find and out of print by these two greats of their time, retelling the best of the giant, Ramayana and Mahabharata and Buddhist tales, and they reprinted it so it's easy and inexpensive for all of us to find. And it's just a treasure what they do for world knowledge. So what I'm going to do is open up to their pitch pages in the back where they talk about all the other books they have in their catalog, because I have so many of their art books here. I have so many books like this, and it's fantastic, all the books that they have. And my hope is that one of you will find a book in here that you want to buy because it's so cool, and that Dover will hire me to be your online video pitch person because I am perfect, because I love what you do, and the best salesman is one who truly believes in their products. So the first book that caught my eye was one a little off the wall. It's Fun to Make Things from Scrap Materials by Evelyn Glantz Hirschoff. And it's taking empty spools and tin cans and bottle tops and things like that and making stuff. And I'm a little bit tempted to get that for my kids and me. Another classic here is Primitive Art by Franz Boas, and I know that term is out of date now, but this is a very old work, and Franz Boas was instrumental in introducing the Western mind to the beauties of regular stuff being art, especially from other parts of the world, and I would love to have that book. That one I don't. And then here is Hilaire Belloc, The Bad Child's Book of Beasts, More Beasts for Worse Children, and a Moral Alphabet. He was a hilarious old guy, and that sounds like it would be an amazing book. They also have The Devil's Dictionary by Ambrose Bierce. I actually have a version of that here illustrated by Ralph Steadman. That's not the Dover one, but it is amazing, and that is a fantastic piece of work. The Complete Nonsense of Edward Lear, who did that great poem, The Owl and the Pussycat, which we have here as a kid's book, which is such a wonderful piece of work. The Brownies, their book by Palmer Cox. If you're into The Good Neighbors, then this is a book about the brownies that's very well illustrated. It's not very faithful to like the history of folklore, but they republished The Principles of Psychology by William James, who is probably the greatest intellectual the United States ever produced, and into nitrous oxide and visions. Then there is Illusions and Delusions of the Supernatural and the Occult by Rawcliffe. And this was a guy debunking a bunch of the old supernormal tales and stuff like that, which is always good for me to see how people debunk that stuff. They have a bunch of the fairy tale collections of Andrew Lang, the Blue Fairy Book, Green Fairy Book, and Brown Fairy Book with illustrations. And those are some of the key fairy books that introduce fairy tales to the last couple generations. And so we have some of those here as well. Let's see. Social Thought from Lore to Science. This is by H.E. Barnes, who I don't know, and then Howard Becker. And Howard Becker was just one of these great sociologists. Sometimes his main work would be just sitting in a park and watching people and talking to them and seeing how it works. I just think he was fascinating. So this is their history of people's thinking of sociology, from Plato to Augustine to Montesquieu, Comte, Marx, and it's just that The Nation said this was the single best survey on social thought. And that's what I love about what Dover does. It finds all these like single best books. I don't have time to read everything in the Hindu and myth. I am working through the Mahabharata now, but it's going to take me about 2 years. This is right now I'm getting through most of the Ramayana in one sleepless night. It's wonderful. Now I have much more of the basics of this incredibly important tale in my head. So that's what they do. They find the best book and they get a really good editor to help put it together. I love that. Here is a history of historical writings by Harry Elmer Barnes, and it seems like just a survey of writing on history. Some classic science fiction novels, which I am into as I am doing a bunch of those this year. Hear Me Talking to You, edited by Nat Shapiro and Nat Hentoff. This is, in their own words, the early days of jazz. They're talking like Louis Armstrong, King Oliver, Fletcher Henderson, Bix Bickerby, Billie Holiday, Fats, Jelly Roll, Duke. And I love these kind of books where it's taking the words directly from the mouths of the people involved instead of some other person like interpreting what happened. just listen to the greats tell you what happened. This one I think I am going to get. This is T.F. Thistleton Dyer's Folklore of Shakespeare. All of this little like magic and luck charms and marriage customs and folk medicines and argot of the underworld and sexual slang of London. What is all of that that's showing up in Shakespeare's work? And that's just a great place to find like new words and new phrases. They also have the I Ching translated by James Legge, which is supposed to be a beautiful translation, but he didn't quite finish it. So I've never actually dived into that translation as much. They have a bunch of the Oz books. Mwah. They have more of Lewis Carroll. Mwah. And they have Howard Pyle's The Story of King Arthur and His Knights, which I have right there for going through with my kids. So that is some of the great books that you can find from Dover. I don't know if they're still on their website, but I went through their website. It's amazing how much cool stuff they have on their website. So this book is great if you're into this. Dover Publications is great if you're into pretty things or the history of human thought. I love you.